Welcome back to Building Character, where we figure out how to play as your favorite fictional characters in Dungeons & Dragons. Join the Patreon for this sheet and like and subscribe for better rivals next time you play. It's a twofer. Happy Halloween, everybody. We're making Alien and Predator today, and I'm putting Alien first because that's generally how they're referred to when they fight each other, I guess. Here's the timestamp for when Predator starts if you just wanted to watch that, but please watch the whole video. It was literally twice as much effort as a normal video, and watch time is the biggest factor in pleasing the algorithm. Kind of getting off topic here. Sorry, I've just got kind of a stomach ache. I'm finding it hard to focus. Oh God. Oh no.
Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea. Yay, that's your business.
Let's start off with our goals for this build. First, chompers, inside chompers, so we can have an in-flight meal when we're soaring through space. Next, we need to put the crawly in creepy crawly, with sticky fingers to make walls and ceilings the same as floors. Finally, we need to be caustic, with blood so toxic it gatekeeps its hobbies and burns people. For stats, we're using the standard point array from the player's handbook. Roll for stats if you want. This build is actually pretty simple. Strength will be number 1. Strong jaws require strength. Who'd have thunk it? Constitution next. You've got thick skin and we're designed to not die, so let's hope that David did a good job. Or the Predators. Wait, who made the Xenomorph? Cyberdyne? Skynet? Yumco? They keep changing it. Dexterity after that. Despite being the size of a sedan, you slink through vents like CFCs. Follow that up with wisdom. Predator might be a better hunter, but you're not exactly an amateur at finding your prey. Technically, you don't get paid to do it, so I guess you are, but you know what I mean. Charisma is a bit low. You're scary, but not really persuasive, and will dump intelligence. Anytime you're beaten, it's due to bamboozlery. Xenomorphs aren't a race, and probably shouldn't even be something a player runs, but I know a lot of DMs like these videos because they're nice, scalable NPCs, and if you want your NPC to be able to scale walls, make them a Simic hybrid. Simics are supposed to be humans that were experimented on, which kind of works considering your DNA takes aspects of its host. You get +2 constitution and +1 strength because I want strength and you can take anything. 60 feet of dark vision, which works well when lighting is sparse in space. The real reason to come to Simic Hybrid is for animal enhancements, like Nimble Climber, to give you a climbing speed equal to your walking speed. But we're actually going to get something a bit better for that later, so grab Underwater Adaptation for a swimming speed and the ability to breathe underwater. You do have a dorsal spine, but nothing I found confirms how Xenomorphs do in water. I'm going to say they do well. Your background is cooking in spaceman tummies, which I think means stealth and survival because we need those, and that's not actually a background. We'll kick things off as a barbarian, letting us grab 2 skills from the barbarian list like athletics and intimidation. You have to have intimidation on Halloween. It's basically a rule. You get unarmored defense, making your AC 10 plus your dexterity and constitution modifiers, making your skin a little thicker, which might actually be better for the things you're hunting considering how corrosive your blood is. You can also enter a rage, though I might just call it a feeding frenzy, giving you advantage on strength checks and saves, resistance to physical damage, and extra damage to your strength-based attacks. Currently you can't nom, but I think a level 1 Xenomorph is really something that doesn't exist. You could also use a great axe, I guess. There's nothing stopping you but yourself. Second level barbarians can make reckless attacks, letting you make attacks with advantage as long as you're okay giving people advantage to hit you. I'm not totally sure that you care about that, and I'm also pretty sure that you get your chomp off before anyone's actually going to be able to hurt you. You also get danger sense, giving you advantage on dexterity saves against the effects of spells and traps that you can see. Fire does tend to hurt you, so I'd stay away from that. And Friends of Ripley, you bad lady. I still want this video to be monetized, so I'm not gonna say the line she says. Third level barbarians can choose a primal path, and the path of the beast is perfect for beasts, because that's why they named it that. You get to choose the form of the beast that you'd like to take when you enter a rage, either getting a tail that has reach and deals 1d12 piercing damage, claws that deal 1d6 slashing damage and you can use twice with your action, or chompers that deal 1d8 piercing damage and heal you an amount equal to your constitution modifier. Obviously biting and tail stabbing are the most in character for you, but you could get some claws if you want, I won't tell anybody. Fourth level barbarians get an ability score improvement. I'd say go for strength first. Things don't really fight back after you attack them, they just sort of die. 5th level barbarians get an extra attack, letting you attack twice with your action instead of once. Unfortunately, the healing from the bite only pops once per turn, and the claws don't stack to be 4 attacks, but the tail just stabs people, so at least that one gets the full benefit of this. The other options are still good, they just don't get to the level where they'd be fully busted. You also get fast movement, letting you move 10 feet faster on your turns when you're not wearing armor. The most I've seen a Xenomorph wearing is a crop top, but that wasn't canon, that was for other stuff that I was researching for this video. I was that's where I found it. Don't worry about it, just focus on your next animal enhancement from Simic Hybrid like Acid Spit, which forces a dexterity saving throw of 8 plus your proficiency bonus and constitution modifier. Failing that, the creature takes 2d10 acid damage, which bumps up to 3d10 at level 11 and 4d10 at level 17. It's basically a better version of Acid Splash, which weirdly I haven't gotten a chance to use a lot for these builds. Not a lot of acid users, I guess. 6th level Beast Barians get Bestial Soul, letting you choose one of 3 options again, but this time it's once per short rest and not rage dependent. The best option for you is the ability to climb on walls and ceilings because that's what the Xenomorph does. You could also get a swimming speed, but you already have one, or you could add your athletics check to the distance of a running long jump. Maybe that last one's in character, but the climbing speed is definitely the obvious one and pairs really well with the reaching tail because then you can just hang out on the ceiling and stab people. Those unarmed attacks are also magical now in terms of overcoming resistances, which is pretty fantastic. 7th level Barbarians get Feral Instinct, giving you advantage on initiative rolls, and you can't be surprised if the first thing you do when combat starts is enter a rage. You are the one who jump scares, but also not really. It's more like dangling in the background with no big musical sting. It's much more effective in my opinion, just because it hasn't been done to death. Like, I think jump scares get too much flack. There are instances where they're done well, but this isn't Tulok Talks Horror Movies. That would be a fun video though. 8th level Barbarians get another ability score improvement. More Constitution will let you use your cool alien stuff more often and give you more HP and AC. It's a pretty good investment for you. 9th level Barbarians get Brutal Critical, letting you roll an extra damage die when you critically hit, with Reckless Attack making crits more likely, and a d12 with the tail attack. This should work out pretty nicely for you. 10th level Beast Barians get Infectious Fury, letting you force a wisdom saving throw when you hit a creature with your natural appendages. Failing that, they're either compelled to attack another creature with a melee attack or take 2d12 psychic damage, your choice. Psychic damage is pretty regularly associated with fear, so I think that actually fits, though weirdly people do start turning on each other when you're attacking them. I can't imagine that just maintaining quarantine would be so frustrating for people. In the movie, I mean. 11th level Barbarians get horror movie villain powers that D&D calls Relentless Rage. This means the first time that you should die while raging, you can just roll a DC 10 Constitution saving throw and stay up at 1 HP instead. The DC increases by 5 each time you use it. Eventually, the audience will get sick of you not dying. 12th level Barbarians get to decide if they want to use the ability score improvement to cap off their strength or constitution. I'd lean towards constitution. Most of the people you attack are commoners. Killing them shouldn't really be a problem for you. 13th level Barbarians get another brutal critical die, so one tail attack can deal 4d12 piercing damage, which should totally end anything that's not in a mech suit. Game over, man. 14th level Beast Barians get Call the Hunt, letting you inspire other Xenomorphy allies by giving them advantage on saves against being frightened, and they get your Reckless Attack ability. If they're like you, they already have that, but you can give this to an amount of creatures equal to your Constitution modifier, and get 5 temporary HP for every creature that accepts it, so you might as well hunt in a swarm. You can do this an amount of times per day equal to your Constitution modifier. 15th level Barbarians get Persistent Rage, meaning that your rage doesn't end early unless you want it to, which I think means that you've eaten a well-balanced meal. If you eat someone who eats healthy, that means you're eating healthy, right? 16th level Barbarians get another ability score improvement, so we can finally cap our strength off at 20. This is the highest it can go. It'll never go higher. Unless. 17th level Barbarians get another brutal critical die, and I'm struggling to write a third joke for this. I don't want to phone it in and rush through the later levels though. It's not like I'm a designer of 5e. 18th level Barbarians get Indomitable Might, so the lowest you can roll on a strength roll is your strength score. Honestly, this is good, but it's not as good as something like Reliable Talent from Rogue, and they get that at level 11, since there's really only one strength check. Still good, it just seems a little unfair. 19th level Barbarians get our last ability score improvement or a feat, and we might as well grab the Resilient feat for dexterity, giving you +1 to the score and proficiency with saving throws, which will not only round up because of that +1, but it'll also make you really good at surviving explosions when you pair it with your danger sense. Our capstone is the 20th level of Barbarian, making you a primal champion for +4 to your strength and constitution scores, and you can ignore the cap of 20. You also have an unlimited amount of rages, which basically means it's not really even rage anymore. It's just part of who you are, but I think it also means that you can pop a new rage to switch to a natural weapon when you have a bonus action on your turn if you want to switch between a bite and a stab. Now that we've hit level 20, let's figure out how viable this build is. First, you are hard to kill with over 250 HP, 19 AC, and resistance to physical damage, not to mention recovery every round you chomp someone. This means that the best way of beating you is probably just trying to cheese you out of the airlock. You can also deal some nice damage with plus 12 damage from each of your attacks, and you ignore resistance with all of those. Finally, climbing on walls and ceilings with extra movement speed means that you should be able to get where you need to go. For weaknesses, you're not great at ranged combat, with 30 feet of acid spit being your only real option. Your low intelligence could also be an issue, making you fail some pretty nasty saving throws. Finally, banishment should just be your biggest concern, with low charisma, meaning even a mediocre spellcaster can just yeet you into another dimension. But if the best method of dealing with you is to just bamf you into the 9 hells, you're kind of a nightmare. Climb up the walls and drive your enemies up them as they try to deal with you. Honestly, I don't even know what could possibly deal with you. Well, I do have one idea. Let's start off with our goals for this build. First, we need to be stocked like a sporting goods store, with plenty of tools to make hunting a breeze. Next, we need natural hunter skills. Even without your toys, you're good at tracking down prey. Finally, we need what I like to call demon Etsy. We need to turn the bones of our prey into useful things. Not in the same way that bones are normally useful for like supporting muscles and protecting organs. For stats, we'll be using the standard point array from the player's handbook. Roll for stats if you want, just make sure you're watching out for those multi-classing minimums. Intelligence will be number 1. Your people won the space race, making your race a space race that scares the other races with your space face. Dexterity next. You like to shoot, sneak, and slash, all good sneaky type things. Wisdom after that. Tracking and seeing are survival and perception. Both are wisdom skills and things that the predator's gotta be good at. Follow that up with Constitution. Ideally, things will be dead before they can attack you, but you'll also be able to take a bunch of hits from the biggest of boys. Strength is a bit low, we'll get around this later, and we'll dump Charisma. You're not exactly charming the locals when you land on a planet. Lots of people have said predators should be Gith, but just because they're from space doesn't mean they have to be Giths. I'm very happy to say that there is a race that's pretty much 1-for-1 in terms of predator abilities. It's one of my favorite races, and we've actually never used one before. It's lizard folk time, baby! You get +2 Constitution and +1 Wisdom. You can bite things for an unarmed attack that deals 1d6 plus your strength modifier. To quote Arnold, you are one ugly person with sharp teeth that could deal 1d6 plus your strength modifier and piercing damage. I never understood what he meant by that until now. You're a cunning artisan, letting you turn the bones of your enemy into a club, a shield, a javelin, or 1d4 darts. And if I'm your DM, having a shield made out of Xenomorph face gives you resistance to acid damage because I'm a cool DM. You can hold your breath for 15 minutes at a time. You've got natural armor to make your AC 13 plus your dexterity modifier when you're not wearing armor. You still will wear armor, but your hide will be a little bit thicker underneath just in case. Since a good hunter eats what they kill, you can use your hungry jaws to make a bite attack as a bonus action and heal your Constitution modifier once per short rest. Think of it as a snack. For your background, we need athletics and intimidation skills, and conveniently, you're from a civilization that fetishizes murder, so soldier background makes sense. We'll kick things off as an artificer because you use all the best toys. You can get investigation and perception skills because I want those, and artificers get to choose 2 of them. You're a magical tinkerer, letting you make a tiny non-magical item into something special that lights up, makes some smoke as a message, but a message more like, Tom, you need eggs. Not a message like, alien stories portray technologically advanced civilizations that are unfeeling monsters who treat humans like animals because our history of colonialism still haunts us with sins we've never faced punishment for. You also get spells and cantrips like Firebolt, which is a ranged spell attack that deals 1d10 fire damage for a little space fireball. Create Bonfire creates a 5-foot cube of fire that deals 1d8 fire damage to creatures inside if they fail a dexterity saving throw. If you want to roast an area, or just like roast something in a pot, have a cookout. Hunters generally like camping. I bet the predators have lots of outdoorsy hobbies. For first level spells, Shield of Faith adds 2 to the AC of a creature for a minute, depending on your concentration, so you can really tech up your defenses. Identify lets you tell what a magical item does, and if it has charges, how many charges it has left for a little scanning thing. Second level artificers get infusions to make you really cool and scary. Arm Blade puts a blade in your arm and makes it magical. It's pretty self-explanatory. Goggles of Night give you 60 feet of dark vision so you can track people at night. Make sure that you deliver that like SpongeBob when you do the voiceover, Phil, otherwise it's not really a joke. Also, don't read this part, that's just a note for you. Enhanced defense adds 1 to the AC of a set of armor or a shield. Probably go for armor for your cool mask and stuff. I'd say you're wearing a breastplate probably, since you have medium armor proficiency. It makes your AC 15 plus your dexterity modifier with a cap of +2 from the dexterity, or 16 +2 if you're using the enhanced defense. Finally, returning weapon adds 1 to the attack and damage rolls of a thrown weapon and brings it back to your hand after you throw it for a bladed boomerang type thing. Third level artificers get to choose a specialty. Artillerists get a shoulder cannon that's called an eldritch cannon. This is a small or tiny cannon. Go for tiny to put it on your shoulder. It has 18 AC and hit points equal to 5 times your artificer level. As a bonus action, you can have it shoot a ranged spell that deals 2d8 force damage and pushes a target back 5 feet, or a flamethrower that forces a dexterity saving throw on creatures in a 15-foot cone, dealing 2d8 fire damage to those that fail. Or you can give creatures within 10 feet of it 1d8 plus your intelligence modifier in temporary HP. You can't prove to me that that shoulder turret thing doesn't pump health juice into a predator's arm when it's not shooting things. Shield adds 5 to your AC as a reaction to keep yourself from not dying, which pairs nicely with the temporary HP. Fourth level artificers get an ability score improvement. I think intelligence would be a good place to invest in right now. Your turret is going to be doing a lot of the damage for you. But you're not just a tech master, you're a master of nature. So let's bounce over to ranger for an extra skill like nature. We'll use the class feature variance version of ranger because it's better. You get favored foe, letting you cast the spell Hunter's Mark an amount of times per day equal to your wisdom modifier. This lets you deal an extra d6 of damage with your weapon attacks. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean the turret is a go, but ranged weapons and bladed boomerangs are a go. You'll also get advantage on tracking that creature for an hour, and if you've ripped their spine out, you can switch it to another creature with a bonus action later. Deft Explorer lets you pick a couple of options. Canny gives you expertise with a ranger skill like survival, letting you double your proficiency bonus when you're hunting people down. I'd say stealth, but we're gonna get something magical for that in a second, so there's no real reason to invest in it super hard. Second level rangers get a fighting style. I'd go with archery to get +2 to your attack rolls with ranged weapons. Honestly, pretty much any fighting style would work for you. You're good with every weapon, so if you want to change that up, that's totally fine. You also learn ranger spells like jump to triple your jump distance for a minute, or long strider to increase your movement speed by 10 feet for an hour because you're a little bit better than the things you're hunting. Since we're multi-classing spellcasters here, check page 165 of your player's handbook to figure out how many spells you have at any given level. Third level rangers can choose a conclave, and hunters are pretty good at hunting. That makes sense. You get to pick a hunter's prey. Colossus Slayers don't have to hunt colossi, though Arnold is pretty big. This lets you deal an extra d8 of damage with weapon attacks against a creature you hit once per turn if they're below their hit point total. Weaker enemies are easier to kill, basically making you a snowball of death. Band name idea, snowball of death. Fourth level rangers get an ability score improvement. Now let's get our dexterity up. We'll do ranger stats with ranger levels and artificer stats with artificer levels. It's kind of a fun idea, isn't it? Speaking of, let's bounce back to Artificer now. 5th level Artificers get an Arcane Firearm, letting you make a spellcasting focus that adds an extra d8 of damage to spell attacks you make with an Arcane Focus once per round. You get Scorching Ray at this level as an Artillerist, which works really well with this, dealing 2d6 damage with each fireball, and it shoots 3 fireballs per spell. You can add that d8 to 1 ball per round, but the real spell that we're grabbing here that's most predatory is Invisibility, making you invisible for up to an hour or until you make an attack, cast a spell, or drop concentration. Probably from casting another spell because nothing can see you to hit you. That's not our only method of invisibility though. We'll bounce right back to Ranger level 5 to grab 2nd level Ranger spells like Pass Without Trace, which adds 10 to the stealth checks of creatures within 30 feet of you for up to an hour depending on your concentration. Yes, it's not full invisibility, but it also doesn't go away when you make an attack, and your stealth score is already pretty good. So I could see the value of using this instead. You also get extra attack, letting you make 2 attacks instead of 1 with your action. I know some people get whiplash when we multi-class, but level 5 is generally pretty good for every class, so I want both. Sue me. Please don't. That doesn't sound like a good use of either of our time or money. 6th level Rangers get another piece of the Deft Explorer puzzle. I'd go for Tireless, letting you give yourself temporary HP equal to 1d10 plus your Wisdom modifier as an action, an amount of times per day equal to your Wisdom modifier, and you can remove the effects of exhaustion on short rests instead of long rests. I don't see the Xenomorphs as long resters. If you're hunting them, you probably can't take them either. 7th level Hunters get Defensive Techniques. You only get to pick one, but I'm gonna go for Multi-Attack Defense at adding 4 to your AC when creatures attack you multiple times in the same round. Things can hit you once, but you're too smart to get hit twice. 8th level rangers get another ability score improvement. Bumping your dexterity will help your attacks with more weapony types of weapons and less spell typey types of weapons. To enhance those weapons further, go to the level 6 of artificer and pick the infusion enhanced weapon, which adds 1 to attack and damage rolls with a weapon for stuff that's a little bit better at fighting the people that you want to fight. Resistant armor gives an armor resistance to acid, cold, fire force, lightning, necrotic, poison, psychic, radiant, or thunder damage. You really don't want Xenomorph's blood wrecking your fancy suit. You also get tool expertise, letting you double your proficiency bonus with tools you're proficient with to make fancier stuff. 7th level artificers get Flash of Genius, letting you add your intelligence modifier to a skill check or saving throw of a creature within 30 feet of you, an amount of times per day equal to your intelligence modifier, helping put your futuristic space knowledge to good use. 8th level artificers get another ability score improvement. Let's invest in our intelligence. I'd like to keep it up with your dexterity modifier so your daggers and boomerangs are as good as your laser toys. 9th level artillerists get an explosive cannon, adding a d8 of damage to your eldritch cannon, and you can make your turret blow up, forcing a dexterity save on creatures within 20 feet of it, dealing 3d8 force damage to those that fail, half as much to those that succeed. You don't want one of the humans getting a hold of your technology. They're actually pretty good at using it against you. You also learn 9th level spells like Fireball from the artillerist list, forcing a dexterity saving throw on creatures in a 20-foot radius sphere, dealing 8d6 fire damage to those that fail, half as much to those that succeed. Fishing with dynamite is frowned upon, but if you've got the dynamite, it is pretty fun. If you just want to go full predator mode, haste is a way to make yourself better, doubling your movement speed, adding 2 to your AC, giving you advantage on dexterity saving throws, and you can make an extra action per round for another shot or to dodge, disengage, hide, use an object, up to you. Keep in mind you can't do this for very long. After a minute, or if you drop concentration, you can't take actions or reactions for a round, so there's a little bit of a punishment. 10th level artificers are magical item adepts, letting you attune up to 4 magical items at the same time, which is good because you get some cool infusions here. Armor of Magical Strength is from an unearthed arcana, but it lets you use your intelligence modifier instead of your strength for strength checks and saves while you're wearing that armor. You can also use it to resist being knocked prone up to 4 times a day, rolling a d4 at dawn to determine how many charges you're gonna get. This basically turns your intelligence modifier into your strength modifier, which is pretty busted. You might not need strength anyway thanks to the gloves of swimming and climbing, letting you swim and climb just as fast as you'd run, and you can add 5 to your athletics checks to climb or swim, helping you float through a lake or climb up trees. Add this to the Tiny Kong reference list. 11th level artificers get a spell storing item, letting you store a spell up 1st or 2nd level into an item, then other people can cast that spell through that item an amount of times per day equal to your intelligence modifier. Make sure you're holding on to it. You really don't want someone else hitting you with all those scorching rays. Our capstone is the 12th level of artificer for one last ability score improvement. Get that intelligence modifier up as high as possible to basically get your brain and brawn up at the same time thanks to that lifty armor. Now that we've hit level 20, let's figure out how viable this build is. First, you're dealing some really consistent damage with Hunter's Mark, Hunter's Prey, magic weapons, and a turret to keep the pressure on. You're also loaded up with mobility options, letting you get where you need to go. You're also loaded with skills for tracking and sneaking, not to mention invisibility and Hunter's Mark helping you get that spine on the shelf. For weaknesses, Rangers and Artificers don't really mix all that well, since the Ranger soft stat is ideally going to be Wisdom and Artificers want you to be Brainy. You've also got a bunch of concentration spells and the spell slots of a half caster, meaning that your toy's battery life might be a bit short. Finally, you're not the prettiest person at the party, with a negative charisma modifier hurting your chances of getting along with the locals. So who would win in a fight between the alien and the predator? I ran a couple of tests and it turns out predators do a really great job of breeding the aliens to be hard to kill. Alien won all 5 tests I ran with between 82 and 122 health left. Also, with the 82 health run, I forgot to give the alien queen her reckless attacks, which probably hurts a barbarian considering several of their levels are devoted to making crits better. Turns out, even with Predator's shoulder cannons and fireballs that beat out the alien resistances, it's hard to kill a monster that basically never misses a bite attack, heals itself 7 HP per turn, starts off with 130 more health, and has mobility to shut down escape routes. But that's really all Alien can do. If all you want to do is run up to things and chomp them, roll up the alien queen. If you want to do like anything else, roll up the Predator. Both of these builds are scary. One is just a little more focused and the other gives you more things to do when you're not fighting. Just remember that no matter who wins, we lose. Really, you can't win in D&D. It's not a game like that. This ending's getting dragged out. I kept it together for like 25 minutes. Don't judge me for phoning it in at the end. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, subscribe for more. We make 2 videos every week. Join the Patreon for character sheets or to vote in the polls for future characters, and subscribe to Tulok and Mango for more Tulok fun.